What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today we are going to be talking about increasing your damage with AP and also monster damage so you can reach different AP effective limit caps and everything. So admittedly, this video is going to be for newer players, returning players, and people who maybe have just started with life skills and are into grinding. So with that said, people have asked me this a lot, and it's what spots are the best to grind for this AP, and how do I get there the fastest? So we all know that gear progression is extremely important in this game, but there's a lot of different ways to actually increase your monster AP and just overall get to certain spots without necessarily completely upgrading your gear. Because let's say your next piece of gear is like 100 billion silver, not even that, just like a high amount, but you don't completely have all your crystals or lightstones sorted. There might actually be an alternative way for you to progress in this game without having your next step be a piece of gear. So with that said, I made a list of various things that you can do to increase your monster AP, and just overall the goal is to meet this number. So by default, what it's going to look like is your gear score. What is really important is you filter it by total stats and then whatever species type you're going to be grinding at. So for me, it's Adonium, but what you're looking at is this effective limit number, or ideally this number over here: green good, red bad. And so no matter where you're grinding, your goal is to at least make it into the green number, and that's pretty important. So with that said, this is not going to be like a gear thing, but I want to talk about like the buffs that I use and stuff that will probably help you and are significantly cheaper than, you know, maybe your next piece of gear is. So yeah, with that said, I made the list, and in no particular order, the elixirs and perfumes that you use. So species damage is always going to be a thing. In case you're a returning player and you don't know what that is, so previously they used to have gear caps. Like, you know, it would just be like if you're over a certain gear spot or point, then you're just doing more damage. Now we have effective AP limit, so that means species damage no longer goes over the cap, but it helps in terms of monster damage, and it goes into that, so it's additive until you reach the cap. So with that said, yeah, number one, species damage. Of all the grind spots, I will say probably demi-human and Kama-Sylvian types are the most important ones. Just for, I would say, beginner to mid-game, these two are probably going to be more important, whereas Adonia is end-game stuff. So yeah, at least try to get a harmony draft of whatever species you're grinding, because the difference is it gives like plus 15 or plus 17 extra species damage along with the AP and then everything else. So those are like the two most important stats, and it's just a lot of other things on top of it. So essentially plus 30, plus 28 equivalent, which is good. The next thing I see a lot of new players not using is perfumes. So there's a lot of different things that you can use, and I've talked about this in another video of which one should you use. But if your goal is to reach a new AP point to grind a new spot to get into that effective limit, Perfume of Courage is a good starter one. So the reason why this one is good is because it gives plus 20 AP, and that's more AP than the other ones, but you know, it doesn't give like special crits and everything else. Whereas this one, Deep Seas, is plus 10, but it gives special attack damage, so like down, back, air attack. So if you are over the cap, you are generally using Deep Seas. If you are not over the cap and trying to get that total AP number that you see over here into the spot, Courage is the way to go. And if you're a completely new beginner, you probably don't need it, but if you do, a very cheap budget option is Perfume of Bracing Spirits, because it just gives +5 and then, you know, some extra crit rate or like crit hit and then HP. So yeah, these are actually what I use when I do bosses, because I don't particularly care for the time, just mostly completion. So these are very cheap alternatives. So +5 AP versus like +10 or 20, and that's what you could use. Don't worry about these Perfume of Envy and Tenacity. These are just upgraded versions of these two and are also very expensive. So yeah, for most people, what I'd recommend if you're trying to get into a certain AP zone or grind zone, but you don't necessarily meet that number, it would be Courage for most people. So of the things we talked about right now, like let's say we're talking about species damage. Ready just got +30 from like species plus AP, 17 plus 13, 30. And then another Courage is another 20. So that's like 50 AP right there immediately. And the next thing that I wanted to talk about was tent and villa. So whether you have a tent or not, there's a buff called the body enhancement. In the Calpheon Ball, they actually announced that they're going to be unifying all of this. So like basically all of these are just going to be combined into one, which is a good thing because there's less to think about. And so 10 AP over here, always good. You get the defensives, which is nice, but that's another 10 AP, which you don't get by gear. So, and it's only like 1 million for an hour. So that's pretty good, right? Along with a buff that we call the Blessing of Valor, which is another +8 AP. And so of the two things in the tent, you just got another AP. So combining that is another 68 AP. That's kind of a lot, actually, believe it or not. So yeah, next on our list we have, oh, by the way, before we go on, the tent buff that we saw, that 3 mil +8, those are called church buffs. And you just go here and then silver church buffs, it'll take you to one in any closest town. And the tent is just kind of a convenience point, but you can buy it in town for a slightly cheaper. Is it a big deal? No. Next, we have a horse buff. So whether you have a Krogdalo horse or you just have a regular tier 9, tier 10 horse, what you're going to want to do is try to get a Krogdalo 5-piece set of the wind. There's 3 different sets. Wind, water, and earth. Earth is defensive. Water is like more health, but also a defensive one. And wind is +5 AP, so I can just show you. So I have to Krogdalo, which is all 3 in 1. It's kind of like an end game thing, but it doesn't really matter. So you see the buff that I just got right here. The Wind's Roar, another +5. And yeah, that's another one. And it's actually pretty cheap. They've done a lot of events where you can just kind of get them. So also making them is not hard. I'll explain that in a second. So whether you buy these off the market or you make them yourself, it doesn't matter what level they are, as long as you have the 5-piece set. So if we just look at it, you could type Krogdalo, and then every now and then you'll see some pieces just sitting on the market. It doesn't matter what level. But if you were going to gather it yourself, the things you want are these Wind Spirit Stone Fragments, because these will allow you to create them. And so the blue one for the earth, or no, blue one for water, yellow for earth, and the ones you want are the wind ones, with are the gray ones. So where do you get them? Down here in Navern Steppe, you do gathering on the griffins and the blue bird thingies. I forgot what they were called, but anyway, there's a bunch of them. It's kind of like grinding, and then you take one of your tanning knives and then you just gather and it just gives it to you. It's actually pretty easy nowadays. Once you have that, you go to where is it? Stonetail Horse Ranch. This node right here. It is in between, well, it's above Tariff and left of Altanova. So this one, and then you get the, where is it? Stonetail Horse Ranch 3 and Horse Gear Workshop, and then you just make them. So ultimately, it's not that bad. If you could buy it off the market, it's a big time saver, but if you have to make it, it's also not a big deal. So that's how you do it. All right, next thing I want to talk about is the house buff, so furniture buff. Talked about this before, but is essentially these Blessing of Mystic, or whatever. I'll just show it to you. Blessing of Mystic Beasts. All of these give different stats. So like this one is accuracy, PvP, defensive, evasion also defensive, and HP. The one most people are going to want is the all AP, simply because it gives plus 15. Now, I've talked about this before, where there are cheaper alternatives. So buying these scrolls is really just convenience. And like, let's say you forgot to go to, your house and buff before you went to your grind spot. This is what it's for. But if you have a house, all those furniture thingies that like give plus 15. Let me show you that right now. Go here, go to furniture, and I believe decoration. And you see all these like statues or thingies that you could buy over here. For example, this one, plus 15 AP for 3 hours. Sometimes they actually just sit on the market, and it's essentially the same thing but cheaper. We'll just say that. And then alternatively, if you already went to your grind spot, if you're in a guild, you can also have those like same things. You can turn it into a guild item and then put it in your guild hall. And then you can go there from anywhere. So even if you're at your grind spot, you just go to your guild hall, and then also very cheaper than buying these scrolls, which a lot of people don't do. So either way, this is convenience. I have them just in case, but I try not to use these because they're kind of expensive. Just get them alternatively if you go hunting as well. So that's plus 15. So all the things we talked about. So like plus 50 from the Elixirs and Perfume, another 18 from your tent and villa scrolls, 15 from your house buff, another 5 from your horse. That's like almost 100 right there. Also, one of the biggest things that I'd recommend to most people is getting species Lightstones. Now, these are significantly cheaper. So what they would look like, for example, is extra AP against the type of species. So the effect will always give plus 15. Each Lightstone gives plus 5, and if you amplify it, it goes to 7. So I guess I could show you on the market what they look like, and it's always going to be fire. So Twisteds are for Adania. These are the most expensive because they're end game stuff. Most people, strikes are very good, but if you're going for Lightstone combos, then where is it? This one, amplify, or you don't have to look at the amplified ones, but just look at the ones that give, like this one is AP against demi-humans, and then this one is AP against Comma-Sylvians. So I have a video talking about that, talking about which one, so depending on where you're grinding, is species damage better than crit and all that stuff. If you are not meeting the AP cap at a grind spot, AP will always be better. If you are over the cap, then you want to use special attack damage like back attacks, crits, and everything. So yeah, I personally have these as well, and this one is just a species for Adania, but I have the other ones too. So yeah, that's at least plus 30 to 36 AP, and the non-Adania ones are very cheap these days. So getting like a plus 30 AP for like 1 billion silver, very good. And there's a few other things you can do. So like, these buffs right here, the Blessing of the Morning. So when people do like Calamity 7 and up bosses, you get like plus 1 AP or plus 1 DP. Now this actually counts towards your sheet. So if you are above, I believe is 340 or 330, 340, I believe, it gives you not only 1 sheet AP, but plus 8 to your total monsters. So that's like plus 9 to your total damage, right? So your overall number will be a lot higher. So if you're grinding, try to be on a channel with the red buff at least. All 3 of them obviously better, but like red buff for damage, green buff for loot, and blue one for defenses. And so if you could do them yourself, that obviously helps things out too. And then, yeah, there's also a node war and like the PvP buff, which admittedly not everyone's going to have, so that's why I was just like, I'm just going to list it. So you'll see an icon above here that'll be like a you know, a node war buff from plus 10 to like, I believe 30 AP, or did they nerf that? And basically if you're a PvPer in a PvP guild, you get a buff for participation, winning and stuff, winning or losing. But anyway, yeah, all those things I listed are basically all the extra buffs you can get, which add up to, let me just double check, at least 150 extra AP. So like, for example, all these things lined up and even more, that's another 150 AP that is very equivalent to boss gear stats. Like all these numbers, they add to your total. So buffs plus main gear, and then like having all your buffs running constantly will allow you to get into the new grind, like whatever new grind spot. So let's say you're about 150 AP lower. Now you can grind those spots, you know, relatively easy. Now, before we wrap up, I just want to talk about one more thing in the grind spots. So let's say, this is something that people ask me a lot. Let's say you are not at the effective 1595, but you are above 1565. Is that still good? Yeah, it's fine. And you could, you know, just push yourself a little bit higher, but you will be able to grind that spot relatively fine. It's just like, the difference would be probably you're doing 1 or 2 more skills in that rotation to kill an enemy, and then versus not having to do that. So yeah, you should still grind there. If the number is green, that's good. Even if you're a little bit lower, let's say for example, Zephyros, you only hit 2010 with your E buff, but aside from that, you're like, what, 19 like 70 or something. Is that still good? Yeah, it's still good. As long as you're not too far down, or like not too far off the total stats, chances are it's still better. But obviously that's testing compared to other spots you grind, and that's a lot of things. So I'll try to help you, point you in the right direction if you need help with it and you're like, oh, I don't know, can I do like Orbita versus Tenebrom? I'm at like 1900 or like 1850. Should I stay at Orbita or Tenebrom? Just grind an hour at each of them and see which one is doing better. I would say if you're within like 40 AP, give or take, then, you know, you're probably okay-ish, but obviously more is better. So with that said, hope you guys learned some stuff, and that was pretty cool. Before we head out, I want to mention one more thing. On the screen right there, if you are interested, right now there's an event going on for content creators and the BDO partners. If you want to help support me and you're thinking about buying pearls or buying the game packages, like let's say you're a new player, you can use my code and I get a small portion of whatever you spend on all of that. So just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support. If you're doing it, don't feel pressured to do it at all. If it's always appreciated, never required. And so if you decide to use my code, that's awesome. Much appreciated. And we have a bunch of videos coming out the rest of the year, and we just have stuff lined up. So hopefully you guys are enjoying all the videos I do, and we will continue going on. So that's it for me today. Hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.